Among many other things, I am a mother of 3 teenagers now, and I am very interested in everything you have to tell us. And I wanted to start by asking you about self-esteem. How important is self-esteem, what is self-esteem, and why is self-esteem so important? Yes, without a doubt, it's a very important term in our lives. You see, self-esteem, for us to understand it, let's analyze its etymological origin a bit. It comes from the word auto, which comes from Greek and means self, and from the word esteem, which comes from Latin and means to value or give value. In other words, when we ask ourselves, what is my self-esteem like, what I am really asking myself is, how valuable do I feel, or how much value do I give to myself? Of course, when I connect with that how valuable I am, it automatically leads me to how I handle the situations I experience in my life. For example, if I feel that I am a strong and capable person, that will lead me to handle the difficulties in my life, the challenges I set for myself, and achieve the goals I set with more ease than if I feel or think or have the certainty that I am not capable, that I am weak, or that I am not up to the task, which is what many people with low self-esteem believe. Furthermore, if I think I am unimportant or of little value, that will probably lead me to fear that no one will choose me, right? For example, in romantic relationships, if I feel that I am not worth it and that no one will choose me, I will connect with the fear of being alone, of remaining single for the rest of my life, of not being able to become a mother, of not being able to have children, for instance, of feeling helpless. So, that can lead to a series of consequences such as clinging to a person, to a relationship that may be toxic. But rather than being alone, I prefer to stay in that situation. Or it can lead to situations like missing out on important opportunities in my life. Avoiding promotions at work, declining opportunities for advancement that are being offered to me. And I keep passing up these opportunities because I feel insecure and believe that I am not up to the task. Of course, this will generate anxiety, many symptoms that can also be depressive, and will have negative consequences in my life. And how does self-esteem affect personal relationships, romantic relationships, and the professional environment? I mean, what are the keys to reinforcing self-esteem? Of course, psychologists know that self-esteem is the foundation of the majority of problems that we, as human beings, experience. In fact, there is a study conducted by researchers at the University of Bern that is very interesting because it indeed demonstrates that self-esteem is mainly built between the ages of 4 and 10 in children. But then, self-esteem continues to increase throughout a person's life and reaches its peak at around age 60. Between the ages of 60 and 70 is when a person, in general, has the highest self-esteem. Probably because they feel more secure, have more experience, have been through certain things, and don't place as much importance on others. So, that's when we are better in terms of self-esteem. And then, after the age of 70, it starts to decline, probably due to the problems we begin to encounter as we stop working. But, to focus a bit on how to strengthen our self-esteem, Nathaniel Branden, a Canadian psychotherapist who wrote a wonderful book, The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, summarizes them in these 6 pillars, which, for me, are very visual and describe very well how we should go about it. The first of them is to live consciously. That is, to be people who analyze ourselves, who are capable of asking ourselves questions, who try to look at ourselves to improve or see what we can change or should change to have a better life or be better people. Then there is another pillar, which is self-acceptance. Accepting ourselves means embracing who we are. We can't do that without connecting with something that, for me, is very important, which is our inner child. Taking a journey to discover what that inner child we all carry within us is like, what we experienced during our childhood, how our parents treated us, what they gave us, what was lacking during that time, what deficiencies we had. This helps us a lot to understand why we are the adults we are today and why we have the self-esteem we have. Each of us carries a backpack on our back filled with emotional experiences. Depending on what we had or lacked, especially in terms of recognition or disapproval and affection or emotional deficiencies, these are the 2 pillars that will build a solid self-esteem. So, connecting with that inner child allows us to connect with compassion, which is another very important ingredient for strengthening self-esteem. Compassion is the ability to empathize with another person's pain, to feel their pain. But there's something within us that moves us to try to ease it, to prevent it, to make that person suffer less. So, that's what leads us to be able to accept ourselves for who we are and still embrace ourselves. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't then move on to the third step, which is taking responsibility. In other words, once I am capable of looking at myself and accepting myself for who I am, I must realize that it is my responsibility to do something to improve in those areas where I can. So, taking responsibility, seeking help if necessary. Accepting that there are certain aspects in which we should change. You may know someone who lacks that ability for self-analysis or assuming the part that needs to change. When we don't have that capacity, we don't improve or change anything. So, this point is also very important.